and Harry Crete bears testimony to a strong inward belief that productivity begins with motivation.
Both at Harry Crete and at Cariflex, the ambition to further educate themselves, they are pretty well aware of that, and that is a good thing about the staff.
He considers them delegates of his vision and practitioners of his mission. See themselves as a wider entity in the global marketplace. Supnarine fosters in his staff the value of knowledge and education and provides elements that sustain growth and development within the organization.
My task as the governor is to think up the ideas, to be able to put the vision to them, to be able to get them to understand why they are doing something, to show them the benefits. What I sell to them is not so much the idea, but the benefits of the idea. When once they understand the benefits of the idea and they are sold into the idea, then they go for it.
That approach, he said, has produced tremendous rewards, for in them rests the will to succeed, founded on principles of honesty and sincerity.
I think the point of wanting to be something worthwhile in the development of this country, and I think I admire them for that.
As indeed.
Well, 10 years old, we would expect, with the format of the day, to have these slight little glitches. But I think we're able to capture the main gist of the story. And as we said in the beginning, despite the physical challenges, you've been able to move forward in such a positive way. What's the secret?
I might want to attribute the success and my thrust forward to the dissatisfaction that engulfed me as a boy, and more so, I should say, the inspirational dissatisfaction that engulfed my thinking, that I should not be one of those who will be subjected to all this inhumane behavior by the superiors. And I think this driving dissatisfaction in me, frankly speaking, if you're satisfied about something, you won't do anything about it. And I think deep inside me resides this dissatisfaction in, you know, what I've done. So you go from one thing to the next thing. You go from the teaching profession into the selling in the market, and you go from the selling into the market to getting into the grocery business. Sorry, and from the grocery business you get into the cosmetic industry, and from the cosmetic distributing business you get in, you slide in, you're dissatisfied with that, inspirationally dissatisfied with that, so you move into the labels, because labels are difficult to come by, and then you move from one thing to the other. And that is what drove me. I think it was the dissatisfaction in me of a situation that kept me driving into one thing and another thing.
From what you're saying, it seems as though you've moved very quickly from job to job. You talked about teaching, then selling in the market, then into the retail business, into your own business, and so it continued. What was the reason for that? Was it that you were not satisfied in all of these areas in which you were involved?
Well, not satisfied is one, but in today's management system or management education, one would say one would call it just the urge to move forward, and the dissatisfaction is what drives you, I think. In today's management, you say diversification, to diversify into something else.
Yes.
One thing encourages you to diversify into something else.
So teaching was not something that you thought that you could stay into. Why? Why didn't you like teaching?
Well, the challenge wasn't there. I do not think that teaching had the kind of challenge that I was cut out for. I like challenges. You would want to take my my handicap or my adversities or my incapacity as a deterrent. No, but I look at it as a challenge. Every adversity can be a challenge in disguise. And if you look at it as a challenge, then you'll take it on and you get on with it.
And you've done that very, very successfully.
I would think so.
How did you plan the course, as it were, to overcome the difficulties? Because that is something that quite a number of people are unable to do.
Well, the old grandmother says, a man is what he thinks. And as a man thinketh, so is he. And if you apply your thoughts in the right direction, you can achieve what you set out for. And if you find you see while you're in the grocery business, you see another vision somewhere, and you can believe in yourself and have that confidence in yourself. I think you should believe in what you should believe in what you think is right. And if you think something is right, this is where we can get into our present situation with the crime, the way the crime is taking over the country. And it has to do with the thinking of those people within certain communities that have lived for generation after generation, the third and fourth generation, with children having children, no parental supervision, no guidance, and the leadership was not there. So the criminals think that they are right. And in their world, if a person involved in crime slaps one or beats or beat a fella, or he robs somebody, he has a certain accreditation in the criminal world. The day he takes blood, he's up on the ladder, gets promoted in that environment. And the day he kills someone, then he is Bajo and everybody respects him. He's Lord and Master of what he surveys. So what you think is what you are. And in my world of not being satisfied with what I'm in, and I see another vision somewhere, then you can divide it into three divisions. First, you've got to think about something. And when you think about something, you have to acquaint yourself with the knowledge and education or the know-how as to how to accomplish what you are thinking. 90% of the world today are not successful because they have gone through the first stage into thinking about something, the second stage into educating themselves, and implementation. All problem in this country is implementation, you know. How many of us really implement? I might not be too far from the truth if I say that 90% of the population only practice 10% of what they know. And only 10% of the population really implements and practices or gets down to the work and get it done.
What is responsible for that, in your opinion?
I think what is responsible for that is leadership. Earlier clock, what has to be done, in my very unqualified position, what has to be done with the criminal elements and those districts and communities where crime is very prevalent. The religious organizations and religious bodies and religious leaders have to take a more active role in getting into these areas and trying to convince and teach these people and try and get them to understand that the world they're living in is not the real world, and that a lot else can be done. Serval is doing a very good job at it in certain areas.
But are you telling me, are you telegraphing to me that the church, and I use church in the collective sense, the church has failed?
I would not say that they have failed, but I think they're lacking in certain areas in getting down to the reality of what we have in front of us and doing something positive about it. I think the religious, we can blame the politicians if we want to, blame your parents if you want to, but at the end of the day, each person has his own right to the way he thinks. And that is the root of the problem. because these people are not thinking in the right direction, and we need to change their thinking. More than anything else, change their thinking and you change the direction of the crime.
But you know, you talked about the current generation, young people, children having children, as it were. But as I recalled, I've heard many stories of women saying that when they were young, they got married and they had children as young girls, but the responsibility for the upbringing of the child rested invariably with the grandmother.
That's right. The responsibility, as a matter of fact, the young girls who were married at a very young age were guided by the parents of the other side. So when the girl got into the house of the other side, some cases they were not justifiably treated. You know, they were taken advantage of. But let us not get into that. But they were supervised by the boy's parents. And the girl who got into that in that home, she was governed. She was supervised. But in some of these criminal communities, where the crime element is a lot higher, examine those areas. You get girls 13, 14, 15 years old having children. And then when you know, there's no parental supervision. There's I don't know how many of them go to a church. I don't know.
So the religious groups must get more involved at this present time because of the situation. That's the point you're making.
That's right.
We'll continue with the discussion.
You can put it another way. The leaders of those communities are the criminals. And the leaders of other organizations should get in there and convince the leaders that first you have to convert the leaders, you know. If you get the leaders to understand that they're steering people in the right direction, it's a matter of changing the way you think. Our country at this point in time, I'm not a politician, I'm just a humble businessman, but our country at this point in time needs a new vision to move it forward.
Trailblazers of the Caribbean, this evening we are chatting with